Long ago, in the farthest reaches of the cosmos, where stars seemed to blink in and out of existence like fleeting thoughts, there was a legend of a strange and powerful book. It was called the Book of the Void. No one knew where it came from or who had written it. But the legend said it was not written by any known species, human or alien, but by something older than time itself. It drifted through space like a forgotten memory, waiting to be found. The story begins with a small crew of explorers, the stellar seekers, who traveled the endless sea of stars. They were adventurers, sent by the greatest galactic council to chart new worlds and uncover secrets lost to time. One quiet evening, as their ship, the Horizon, glided through the black ocean of space, an unusual signal reached their sensors. It was weak, almost as if someone had whispered into the darkness. Captain Zela, the leader of the crew, ordered the ship to follow the signal. The journey was long and perilous. They passed through ancient star systems that were once home to mighty civilizations, worlds now turned to dust, their ruins floating like forgotten ghosts. Along the way, strange anomalies greeted them, stars that burned a strange purple hue, nebulae that shimmered with eerie patterns, and planets where the air seemed to hum with an invisible energy. The crew grew restless, feeling as though the very fabric of the universe was shifting around them. One day, as they neared the coordinates of the signal, something strange appeared on their scanners. A shape, almost like a black cloud, drifting lazily through the endless void. It was the manuscript. It was not a ship or an object in the traditional sense, but a floating, ancient bundle of cosmic matter, a manuscript bound in a strange, shimmering material that neither reflected nor absorbed light. As the stellar seekers approached, Zela couldn't help but feel a chill. There was something unsettling about this discovery, something ancient and dangerous. She ordered the crew to prepare to retrieve it. Lieutenant Garo, the ship's engineer, was the first to touch the manuscript. As his fingers brushed against the surface, a low hum filled the air. It was unlike any sound the crew had ever heard, a sound that seemed to echo both inside their minds and in the very fabric of space around them. Then, with a sudden shock, Garo vanished. The crew gasped, unsure of what had just happened. He had simply disappeared, as though swallowed by the void itself. Panic spread through the crew as they scrambled to understand what was happening. Captain Zela ordered the ship's systems to scan for any trace of Garo, but there was nothing. It was as if he had never existed. But then one of the crew members, Mira, the ship's medic, picked up something odd. On the surface of the manuscript, faint symbols had begun to glow. It was as if the book was calling out, inviting them to read its secrets. And so, despite the growing fear, the crew decided to open the manuscript, each knowing that doing so might seal their fate. What they found inside was not words or pictures, but an ancient language, one that none of them could understand. Yet as they gazed upon it, a deep sense of knowing filled them. It was as if the book was speaking directly to their hearts. In that moment they understood the warning it carried. The book was not just a record, it was a key to something far beyond their comprehension, something that lay hidden in the folds of space and time. A vast mystery that could destroy them all, or grant them unimaginable power. But before they could make a decision, a strange light engulfed the ship. The crew watched as it stretched out toward the stars, pulling the manuscript into the blackness. And just as quickly as it had appeared, the manuscript vanished, leaving nothing but the emptiness of space. The crew looked at each other, stunned. Lieutenant Garo was gone. The book had vanished. Yet the echo of its presence lingered, haunting them with questions that would never be answered. Some say the manuscript was a gift from the stars, a cosmic treasure. Others claim it was a curse, a trap laid by an ancient race of beings who had vanished long ago. But no one knows for sure. The legend of the Book of the Void endures, carried through whispers across the galaxy. And though the stellar seekers never returned to the known worlds, their story lives on in the hearts of those brave enough to venture into the unknown, searching for answers that may lie beyond the edge of the stars. But beware, explorers of the stars, for some knowledge is better left unread. After the disappearance of the stellar seekers, the galaxy moved on, though the tale of the Book of the Void spread like stardust. It was whispered in the hidden corners of spaceports, on drifting outposts, and around the flickering flames of camps set on lonely, forgotten moons. Most heard the story as just another space fable, one among many stories of ancient artifacts and cosmic riddles. But a few believed it, a few feared it. One such believer was Captain Reiner, a grizzled explorer who had spent years charting the edges of known space. His ship, the Nebula's Edge, was a worn and battle-scarred vessel, but Reiner had a reputation as someone who never shied away from danger. He had heard the tale of the book from an old trader in the Zeta Cluster, a man whose mind had fractured after his ship had passed near the coordinates where the stellar seekers had vanished. The trader spoke in riddles, his eyes wide with terror. "I saw it. I saw it," he had whispered, gripping Reiner's sleeve. "A storm, a tear in the universe. That book, it pulls you in. You read it and you vanish. There's no escaping. You must never look at it. Reiner, despite his many years of experience, had felt a shiver run down his spine. The Book of the Void was no longer just a legend to him. It was a mystery to be solved, a piece of the universe he had to understand. He gathered a small crew of seasoned explorers, each with their own reasons for seeking the truth. Among them was Lyra, a scientist with a fascination for ancient civilizations, Darnak, a linguist who could read almost any known language, and Scar, a pilot who had a knack for navigating through the most dangerous regions of space. Together they set off on a new quest, one that would take them far beyond the safety of the known galaxy and into the deepest, uncharted territories of the cosmos. As they followed the faint signal of the manuscript, the crew encountered more strange and eerie phenomena. The space around them twisted and bent in ways that defied the laws of physics. They passed through a nebula that glowed with an unnatural green light, its gases swirling like the eyes of some giant, slumbering beast. On one desolate moon, they found the ruins of an ancient civilization, its broken buildings half swallowed by sandstorms that never stopped. The air hummed with a forgotten song, as if the planet itself was trying to tell them something. The Voyager's hope drifted silently through the glowing mists of the shattered nebula. The ruins of the lost Kelry city stretched beneath them, towers of crystal sparkling faintly like stars caught in frozen time. Around them, the shadowy figures hovered, watching with eyes that burned like tiny suns. Captain Mira stood on the bridge, the silent gun resting heavy and warm in her hands. The weapon's pulse quickened, echoing the beating of her own heart. The air was thick with unspoken questions and a deep, ancient power. The gun's light flared, filling the room with shifting colors, blue, violet, and silver, painting strange symbols on the walls. Then, in a voice like a whisper carried on the solar wind, it spoke inside Myra's mind. "I was born of war to end war," it said. "I am memory and judgment, protector and destroyer. To wield me is to carry the fate of stars." The crew listened, breath caught between wonder and fear. The silent gun was no mere tool. It was a living legend, aware, thoughtful, burdened with a will of its own. Suddenly, the shadowy figures moved closer, revealing themselves. They were the last descendants of the Kelry, beings of light and energy shaped by the nebula's power. Their leader, a tall figure glowing with soft gold light, stepped forward. "You have awakened the weapon that thinks," she said. "We are its guardians. Long ago, the Kelry hid the gun here, hoping one day it would find those worthy enough to decide the future of the cosmos." Mira nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. "We did not seek war, only answers. But now we must choose. Will this weapon be a shield for peace or a spark for destruction?" The silent gun pulsed fiercely. In its light, Mira saw visions of galaxies torn apart, worlds saved, and futures waiting to be born. The choice was not simple. Power like this could bring endless peace, or endless war. Then, in the deep silence, a soft voice came from Tilo, the youngest crew member. "Maybe the weapon doesn't want to decide alone. Maybe it wants us to teach it, what it means to be alive, to protect, to hope." The glowing leader smiled. "A wise thought. The weapon that thinks learns from those who hold it." Mira looked at her crew, brave souls from many worlds, united by curiosity and courage. Together they reached out and touched the silent gun. Its pulse slowed, settling into a steady beat. "Then we choose together," Mira said, "to carry this legend forward, not as masters but as friends. To protect the stars and all who live beneath their light." The shadows of the Kelry bowed in respect. The nebula's light shimmered like a promise. The silent gun, once a silent relic of war, became a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of space, life could find new paths. As the Voyager's hope set course away from the shattered nebula, the explorers told their tale around glowing campfires on distant worlds. They spoke of the weapon that thinks, a legend alive and waiting for the next brave heart to listen. And so the story lives on, among the stars, whispered by cosmic winds, a folktale of mystery and wonder, reminding all who hear it that sometimes, the greatest power lies not in weapons, but in the choices we make. The silent gun sleeps for now, its secrets safe beneath the endless sky, waiting for the next chapter of the universe to be written. But who will find it next? And what will it ask of them? The stars keep their silence. The figure paused, its gaze shifting to the crew. But those who seek it, they will be lost to the void as well. The price of knowing what was forgotten is never small. "Then, why are you showing us this?" Reiner asked, his voice tense. "Why lead us here?" The figure's glowing eyes softened, and for the first time, a sense of deep sadness seemed to flood from it. "Because you are the last ones. The last to know. There is no going back. The book has chosen you to carry its knowledge. And now you are bound to it." Before Reiner could reply, The figure stretched its arm toward the sky, and the world around them began to shatter. The mountains crumbled, the skies tore apart, and the stars above twisted into spiraling lines of light. The crew was thrown to the ground as the very fabric of the universe seemed to unravel. And then, as quickly as it had begun, everything stopped. The world, the shadows, the vast cosmic storm, all disappeared, leaving the crew alone in the quiet blackness of space once again. The book was still in Reiner's hands, but now it was silent. What happened? Darnak's voice was barely audible, trembling in the sudden calm. Reiner opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The truth of what they had just experienced lingered in his mind like a dark storm cloud, full of questions that would never be answered. They were bound to the book, to the void. And now the universe would never let them go. We've seen the beginning, Lyra whispered, her voice heavy with realization. But we've also seen the end. The Book of the Void was not just a book. It was a doorway to the forgotten corners of the universe, a gateway to the knowledge of all that had been and all that would never be. But now that knowledge had become their burden. They could never unlearn what they had seen. As the nebula's edge floated silently through the blackness, a new legend began to take shape. A tale of explorers who sought the deepest mysteries of the stars and were lost forever, their fates woven into the very fabric of space itself. The Book of the Void would continue to drift, waiting to be found by the next soul brave enough to seek it. And so, the story lived on.